People, Deluded, I'm back again. Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well. I hope the same can be said for your family, relative, loved ones and close ones, especially with what's going on globally. I really hope you're safe and, stay safe and really use this time to better yourself mentally, but look after your health and obviously do what you can for those who are disadvantaged. But moving on, I've actually finished the videos I was going to do for today. Like you do, you go on Twitter, you go on social media, Henrikh Mkhitaryan or stuff in relation to Mkhitaryan. It's nothing new. You all know he wants to stay at Roma and he's more or less confirmed that now. It's courtesy of Google Translate. So at this moment, I'm a bit unsure of the context, if he specifically said this, if his agent has said it. So we might as well crack on. Apparently, his message to Arsenal is, my time in London is over. I hope you managed to find an agreement with Roma because my time in London is over. I hope you managed to find an agreement with Roma because my desire is to remain. Apparently went on to say Mino Raiola thinks it's better to sell a player at an affordable price rather than keeping him on the bench. And it's a mixed one because obviously I think it shows Mkhitaryan is a sporting professional. He could have easily, done woe is me at Roma, go to Arsenal. You've got a year left, especially with the economic problems globally that Arsenal and a lot of teams are facing with the wage cuts. At my age, I've still got a respectable contract and a year on that. Let me just call off for a year, which I'm not saying it's going to be the case, but certain other men that are contracted until 2021 might do that. For me, of course, I'm happy because it frees up wages. You're hearing the fee quoted. Apparently, Arsenal wanted 15-20. We've come to an agreement indirectly, and we more want to do it for 10 million euros, which, you know what, 10 million euros off the wage books. It is what it is. You can hardly do anything with 10 mil, but it is what it is. We know Alexis Sanchez and Mkhitaryan's probably been the most expensive swap deal in history in Premier League, to be fair. It's been expensive. At a push, Mkhitaryan's, I'm going to say, it was a better signing than Alexis because he's done more in my book. And obviously, shout out to Mkhitaryan for that Pierre stuff. I do think Mkhitaryan will be missed off the field because, again, I'm not an Arsenal player and things, but from what I hear and told, he's already been missed. He got on with all the players, and he was one of them man that, would look after the kitchen staff and, make sure, apparently Christmas, he's buying that sort of stuff for everybody. So he's a nice man. Obviously, being a nice man don't mean anything. Like I said, Mkhitaryan, he could have stayed at his year, coached for another year and saw how things go, but he wants to stay in Roma. Living in Italy, specific to a city like Rome, there's a bag of things to do, from cuisine to sightseeing. It's a different way of life. Obviously, he's playing under Paulo Fonseca and he's doing quite well. We'll look at his statistics in a second. I think he's got 6 goals, and obviously he's liking life, and that's all he wants. That's all he wants. We're hearing a lot as to whether Roma can afford him or not, because 1 minute it's 10 million, then it's, they wanted to sign a new deal at Arsenal and then go on loan. Then it's, which the managers come out and said Roma are trying to react to what's going on globally, so they can't do too much. In which, on one hand, for me, I do think there's still goal for Mickey, but for me, if you're Roma, if you're a team where, if you've got to watch the penny strings and you've got to look at value and you've got to think about longevity, Mkhitaryan's a good player and he's just here for now, though. Is he really worth? I'm not saying he is, I'm not saying he isn't, but the wages, he probably wants a respectable contract, and he's got his agent that works on behalf of him is going to make sure he gets that. This outlay for someone who's not going to give you a 5-year stuff, for someone that might be in his position but they're 20 and they can be here for 5 years and be sold on for money, it might be something different. But, if that's what they want to do, it's good on Arsenal. And, I keep talking about 2022 because I do think people are forgetting about it. But 2021, there's a mess of contracts. Saka and Aubameyang is what it is. They both need to sign new deals. Mustafi, is he going to sit on his hands for another year, or think he's proved to Arteta I can do something? Does he want to try and fight for a new contract for a year? We'll move on. Same is said for Socrates. Obviously, David Luiz is allegedly being given a contract extension, but for now, it's not been signed, so we can't really speak on that. So there's decisions to be made, and in terms of the attacking mid position, there's a bit of inconsistencies because there's not one glaring candidate. I think we need more of a modern day midfielder who can do a creative stuff, who can be playing a flat midfield 3 and is a bit more dynamic. But if we're looking at creativity in the side, there's probably 4 men off the top of your head. Yeah, you can probably put Nelson there in the 10 role, the creative hub, and do other things. But you see Joe Willett, Emil, Mickey, and Ozil just on the books. Now we all know Ozil, terrific passer. you know, world class at what he does. Let's be honest, he's not a world class player, but final ball, for all of that stuff, he's an enigma. He's a great player. We all know longevity, consistency. He's not someone we should be planning around. So you've got that, and his contract is obviously at thingy as well, and probably someone that needs to be moved on. But I don't want to make this about Ozil. You've got Ozil, you've got Mickey, who isn't here. Yes, primarily he plays on the right hand side, but he can play as a 10. He plays on the both. You've got him. You've got Emil Smith-Rowe, who's went out on loan. He might be given a chance next season, or he might go on loan again. But you know, is he ready? Is he not? That's someone. And you've got Joe Willock. Now, for me, Joe Willock is someone that should be in the pivot. I think he's a good ball carrier, like I've said in the previous vid. I think he's very good at them sort of things there. I think he could be a real player for us in the pivot, someone that would be partnered with Xhaka or competing for that spot versus the 10. He could learn it, but at 20 years of age, and he did do it at academy level, I don't think he's got the final ball, the eye for a pass. I don't think he takes... This can all be taught. But regardless what you say about Ozil and Mkhitaryan, look at them off the ball and the positions they take up. I don't feel Joe has that. But not to make it specific, that's 4 players that can play in that role. Clearly, if Mickey's gone, we might use Ozil for another year, and the 2 youngsters might be given chances if they're not loaned out. But none of them really scream, you know, creativity. And for me, I can't take it from any Arsenal fans, but I look at our squad, I know we've got a lot of centre-halves on the books, but there's not really a centre-half that screams, you know, you're head and shoulders above everyone. You say the same way you look at Aubameyang, you're like, I've got confidence. I don't really have that. There's men that are playing good in form. There's good young players. There's, you know, Marie, he's done well in what he's been given, but there's no real glaring candidate. And it's quantity over quality. It's probably David Luiz, really, because David Luiz has been good. Credit to Mustafi as well. I would like us to bring in a centre half that I can say that, whether it's a young man with potential with Saliba, I would like that to be done, sort of thing. I think we need a central mid. I think we need someone like Partey, who, if they're not box to box, can break down play and do defensive mid stuff as well as the other thing. I do think we also need a creative man. But for me, if I look at it, I do think creativity in this side is as important as needing, you know, box to box, someone a bit strong, a bit 6 foot. You know, if we could find a Vieira, if you don't really know what I'm talking about, I do think that's needed equally. But at a push, I'm a man who believes in fixing a house from the roots up. You get it? I believe in the basics. I don't feel we've got the basics. Way before you talk about, you know, the wallpaper you're going to put in your room and the TVs you're going to get, you're going to make sure that the walls of the house you're moving into or building, you're going to make sure it's plastered properly, it's insulated properly. For me, that's the spine of the team, because I don't think the spine of the team's patterned. And we really run the risk of the spine being ruined again if certain players leave. So I think that at a push, you know, I'm going for a centre-half or a more composing midfielder, someone a little less glamorous. And it makes me believe, like, do we have money to really stretch for a creative man? Because I think, like I said, that's of importance. But, you know, Arsenal working under a budget and, you know, swap deals, loans, we could do something. Maybe even keep Ceballos for a year could help us in that regards. But, you know, if I was Arsenal and we splash out on a centre-half, I say splash out lightly. We bring in a centre-half, we go centre-half, we go midfielder. Will we have the outlay to go for that creative midfielder or someone that can do that? Because you look at Hossein Aouar, someone who's you lot have been on the case as well for 2 years. Apparently, Lyon want 40 odd million for him. Are we going to spend 20 odd on a centre half based on the young names we're linked with, or 40 if it's Upamecano, 40 for Partey, and obviously another 40 on this? That brings you around to 100 and something million. Now, Arsenal have done that sort of stuff before, and it should be doable. But if we're really under financial constricts, if we really have to cut wages, can it really happen, sort of thing? I don't know, people. We need to get people off the wage book, and it's you know, it's needed, people. The article, I took it from, I've translated it on Google. It said these are Mkhitaryan's quotes: "I want to stay in Rome." Apparently it said the Armenian is a priority of Fonseca, who wants to keep him at all costs because he's considered an important element of the squad, but also the locker room. He's a great man. He's extraordinary. I would like him to remain in Rome. This is what the manager said. To the point of having delivered a clear message: my time in London is over. I hope you can find an agreement with Roma because my desire is to stay. Apparently we're asking for 10 million. And then it went on to say, I think I screenshotted it again. Thanks to the mediation of Mino Raiola, who has been negotiating on the sale for weeks, seems to have understood that in this moment of crisis, it's better to sell a player at an affordable price rather than keeping him on the bench, having to pay an even high salary. Precisely for this reason, the Gunners are now asking for 10 million for his transfer, an acceptable sum. He will still need a cut from the playmaker. with the future still hanging in the balance. The saucy Russians also asked for information for Mkhitaryan, who faint but declined the option. His future his future, except for sensational trysts, is the present Rome. This is Google Translate, so some of it isn't going to make sense. And like I said, for weeks this has been it. It's been consistent in that they wanted to stay at Roma, but 1 minute sign a new deal and go on another loan deal, sign a new deal and then come back to Arsenal. Arteta didn't rule it out. These are all games and bargaining positions as well to get the deal. 1 minute we want 15. It's been a bit of to and from sort of thing, and throwing and coming sort of things. And this leads me to believe, if Mkhitaryan did come out and say these things, this is the new tactic. Okay, Mino Raiola said, all right, cool, we have to really make it clear. Everyone's been kind of playing on the fence. Roma have made clear they want to keep him, but they've been saying stuff like they've got to react to the situation. Arsenal clearly want to sell him, but Arteta didn't rule out using him. Do you get it? Mino Raiola hasn't ruled out anything, but clearly something has to give now. And considering the economy, probably have to take him out at an affordable rate sort of thing. And for me, it's about getting players off the wage book. Again, Arsenal need a clear out, but we have to be realistic. We're not going to see 20 man leave this squad, and that wouldn't be healthy sort of thing. And I don't think it'd be wise to probably let Mkhitaryan and Ozil go, really, if we're not going to bring anyone in. If we're going to bring someone in and the club's got a plan, fair play. But I'd see Mkhitaryan's not been at the club, so it's irrelevant. But if Mkhitaryan leaves, Ozil goes, you're relying on Joe Willock and Emil Smith-Rowe to fill that creative void, and I'd back them. But realistically, they're inexperienced. Of course, I'd back them and they need to show stuff, but 38 games, can you honestly expect them to get minimum 10 Premier League assists? No, they'll have good games to have bad games. It's like expecting Eddie Nketiah to score 20 league goals next season. I hope he does it, but it'd be unrealistic to expect him to do that. And it's he's still developing. It's like expecting Saliba to land at Arsenal tomorrow and become the next Varane. I really hope he's the next Varane. Look at what Varane's been doing from 18 to 27. But I look at Saliba. He's been playing 1.5 seasons as a professional footballer. His second season, which is now, has been cut short. He's had some great games. He's been a good player in a mixed campaign for St Etienne, but he's also given away penalties, been caught flat-footed. Absolutely, the standout game I've watched him since I found out about him when he had a bad game. Got terrorised by Diallo of Metz, 24-year-old. Outpace, strength, everything. He's still learning, and in the Prem he's going to learn harsh lessons. And obviously people get gassed off the player he's going to be tomorrow. 6'4", pacey, football nerd he's been described as. I get gassed as well, but the perception needs to not go from reality. The reality is the man is still learning, and these are the things. Like again, they have to show it. They're playing for Arsenal, but I don't think it's fair. And we've got young players. They're going to have to build us for the future. But it's not fair for me to expect Saliba to be the rock of that defence immediately, Eddie to score immediately, Emil or Joe to assist immediately, to get. And if they are going to be, if all of these players, I know we're focusing on the creativity, but if they are going to be thrown into this, people, then fans probably need to recognise even more so Arsenal are going to be less competitive. I know fans recognise that, but does every fan accept that and really accept that and really understand that? Only you in your heart can tell you, people. But in short, if Mkhitaryan's sell gives Arteta, not Ozil, a bit more bob to put towards doing other things, frees up wages to allow us to do other things, then I'm all for it, people, because there's too much uncertainty over the contracts at this club. If it's not Mkhitaryan, you still got on paper David Luiz, Socrates, Aubameyang, Saka, probably missing out another 2022 contracts. Eddie Nketiah, who whether he makes it here or not, should be given a new deal to mark his progress in the team. He's gone from being a bit part sort of player in the side to being a different sort of bit part, more of a rotation option, going from being a squad player to still being a squad, but more of a rotation. Do you get what I'm saying? We need to be on top of this sort of thing, really and truly. And we're kind of playing catch up in that regard. So we'll have to see, man. There's a lot of reacting to be done, but if this is what he's done, I wish Mkhitaryan all the best. Thank you for helping to sign Aubameyang. I would be keen to see who gets the number 7 shirt. Could Saka get it if he moves back to left back? Could Reece Nelson get it, which Arteta seems to really love Nelson? Could be a touch of confidence. Could you give it to Pepe, or could it be reserved for a new winger? Because, like I said, man, if money weren't a thing, people, if money really weren't a thing, there's probably about 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 changes I would do. Not to get at people, but if the squad was in the way, I'd go for a centre-half. I'd bring in a sort of, not creative midfielder, but like a Kevin De Bruyne sort of thing in the midfield. I'd bring in that. I'd bring in a box-to-box. I'm not going to lie, I'll be bringing in a right-back as well as a centre-half, people, really and truly. And I'll be going for a winger. We don't really need a winger. We don't need a winger. But what I mean by that is if there's an option of what Wenger used to say, a super player, not necessarily world class, but if there's someone that is better than what we have available, or there's a sniff of a chance, I'll go for it. I'd also go for. I'll go for a goalie. I love our goalie who's in goal right now, but I do think goalie and right back, if the positions were a bit healthier, we'd be looking at it a bit booky because, you know, get away with a lot. But I've been waffling about something for far too long now, so I'm just gonna get out of here and not waste any more of your time, people. As usual, thank you very much for watching, rocking, and tuning in with me. But for now, people, DG, I'm out.